Okay.
Good morning. We'll go ahead and call the June 23rd, 2026 Transportation Authority of Calhoun County meeting to order. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Eric Stewart, present. Tom Tarkowitz, here. Vivian Davis. Maya Williams.
Here.
Amy Evans.
Here.
Janasia Morris. And Dr. Paul Watson. Okay, we do have quorum. We'll move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, support. Motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. We'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Are there any public comments on agenda items presented? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a flavor to pull anything off the consent agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval. So
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. We don't have any items for unfinished business, and there's none from the board. Am I correct? So we'll move on to new business. Now, look, we didn't have any unfinished business, but we got a whole lot of business today. So there's we have a variety of resolutions, and as usual, I'll call those out, and then good morning, Mallory. We will work through those. Okay. And I think we all have links. So under the first resolution we'll be seeking approval for is resolution 20-2026, approval of the Battle Creek Comprehensive Transition Agreement.
Yes. So this same agreement was approved by the city of Battle Creek last week at their commission meeting. This is the agreement that our legal counsel worked on alongside the city's legal counsel to transition all of the assets, property, employees, contracts, etc., over to the authority. I've included the CTA itself. However, I believe we're still putting together the pieces that go along as the separate exhibits for some of the items. This includes the transfer of real property, such as the actual offices and transfer center, as well as some licensing of space, for example, at the train station for a driver break room. And then Rich is here with us today if you guys have any questions about this agreement.
I'd like to invite Councilor Sherry to sit to the stand, but yeah, you know,
yeah.
Any nuance you want to add to that we need to be aware of?
Not really. I think there's still some items that we are waiting for the city to give us. And the pension, we still need some clarity on that. But for the most part, everything is pretty in line with what we thought and ready to go. So once you approve it, then we'll move forward to do the transfer of the property, which we have to set up with the title company and do it the formal way, and also transfer the assets like the buses with the Secretary of State. So all that would need your approval first before we can implement that.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, last meeting we approved the EDA contract with Fishback. Now, if we find problems on either of the sites, is that whose responsibility? Is it for, I think you said the phase 2 would be our responsibility, but if there's things found as part of the phase 2, whose cost is that?
That's something we would have to negotiate with the city if we find that there's it is a bus station, so I'm sure there's some type of contamination there. So not for certain, but I mean, bus stations, underground storage tanks, things like that. So you live in a city, so it's not going to be pristine. So it's up to this body to determine whether or not that's something you would want to take on. But as far as the I guess
Like,
historical liability, that's why we have a BEA, so you can absolve yourself for that when you take ownership.
Does either one of the sites ever had fuel tanks?
We don't have fuel tanks. No.
Did the site ever, I don't know what it was used before,
It was a bar. My understanding is that it was a bar
what
before.
about the back buildings?
That I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll find out. I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, so.
I know Fishbeck has sent that agreement or the kind of a questionnaire to the city to get some answers on historical property information. I imagine once that comes back, I'm hoping the city will be able to help us answer some of those questions that were pre my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Having said that, I'll entertain a motion for this resolution.
I move that,
Good.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026 and approval of the comprehensive transition agreement with the city of Battle Creek.
Okay, so moved, is there any support?
support.
Yeah, so moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. We'll move on to resolution 21-2026, approval of Marshall Comprehensive Transition Agreement.
Okay, so resolution 21-2026 is the transition agreement between the city of Marshall and the city of Battle Creek. It's different in the sense that we're not transferring real property. We are gonna lease office space is our proposal to Marshall. To continue leasing that space that Marshall Dial-A-Ride has historically been using. Including the garage space where the vehicles are stored, and a small area where equipment is stored as well. This agreement is more simple in the fact that it doesn't have necessarily pensions, benefits, things like that need to be addressed. It's primarily the transfer of vehicles, other owned assets or grant funded assets. And that property lease. And Mr. Chair can help us if needed.
Any questions? Great. Any nuance that?
Just a little bit, so, unlike the Battle Creek, agreement, which is already approved by the city of Battle Creek, this has not been approved by the city of Marshall yet. So you would be the first to approve it, so we might need a little wiggle room in the motion to, if there's some final details to iron out, but, so the motion is gonna be a little bit different, so.
Yeah, so the motion would include the premise that this is contingent upon Marshall's city council approving that piece, but this is a preemptive approval from.
Right, and to approve a similar or like agreement, it's not gonna change dramatically, but there might be some nuance there that we might need to account for, so. And give us just the authority just to, it's again, not gonna change dramatically, but if it does, then we'll bring it back to this body.
So let me ask you a question, Council. If I had to bake just our little conversation down into one statement, relative to this, what would that be from your perspective?
I would say that the motion should be that move to approve the agreement in similar like form to today's agreement. Something like that. Pending approval.
Okay,
I can.
I would prefer that, please.
All right, great.
Okay.
Everything else.
No, I just no employees, so that's a lot easier. So yeah.
It's a little bit straightforward.
It is, and hopefully we'll get it their agreement. We can backdate it if we need to. So we should be fine for July 1st.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So the second to that motion?
Second.
Did you want to restate it?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Restate, please.
I move to approve resolution 21-26. Approval of the Marshall Comprehensive Transition Agreement and similar or like form pending agreement of the City of Marshall City Council. Is that right?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry. It's been moved second. Any other discussion? Hey, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, resolution 2026, adoption of revised accounts payable policy.
Yes, 22-2026 revises the previously approved accounts payable policy to include the section that was included in your packet, the section that is in red, giving our organization a little more flexibility, given that we now meet only once a month as a board, giving us flexibility to pay under a specific threshold. So in this case, any payments under $20,000 can be made in advance of a board meeting, and then that summary of those payments provided to the board at the next meeting. This prevents us from having to stop business operations pending a board meeting. And our accounting firm, Maynard Costerson, reviewed this with us, helped us implement these changes into the policy, and now it's just before you for approval.
Great idea.
I do too.
I entertain a motion based on what's presented for this resolution.
I move to approve resolution 22-2026 adoption of the revised accounts payable policy.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there any support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. Resolution carries. Resolution 23-2026 adoption of administrative policy, and this is in reference to flexible time off.
Yes. So resolution 23-2026 covers management and executive level employees establishing an administrative policy for flexible time off. This would replace what is a traditional accrual method of paid time off, and instead just allows for employees to take time off as needed. And then the policy itself outlines some parameters regarding excessive absenteeism or attendance issues. We did discuss this with Miller Johnson, our labor attorney there, and just ensured that we understood practically how to apply a policy like this as it relates to laws that require paid time off, such as ESTA, the Earned Sick Time Act. So the policy is relatively simple in nature, not allowing or not providing an accrual of paid time off, but instead just allowing the flexibility for individuals to request time off as they need it. We believe this will help with recruitment and retention, particularly in the management and executive level positions.
Is there a motion for this resolution? Stopper, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Based on what we heard? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, resolution carries. Resolution 24-2026, adoption of administrative policy, and this refers to paid time off.
Correct. So as our administrative team was kind of talking through the flexible time off, some of the nuances of coverage and hours, standard work week, thinking salary or exempt versus non-exempt. We have identified our supervisors as needing to maybe be on that accrual methodology of paid time off. In the event we find that it's able to be more flexible, given adding more supervisors and changing shifts and schedules, we can reevaluate that in the future to move to a flexible time off policy for them as well. But otherwise, at this time, we're proposing a paid time off policy for our supervisors that would accrue PTO. That is then a liability that would be paid out at at separation. And that caps at, I believe it was 240 hours. So they could have up to 240 hours or 6 weeks of time in their bank. There is no use it or lose it. You just can't exceed that 240-hour cap.
Okay. Motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay.
Support.
So moved and supported. Any other discussion?
I have a question. I see the 6 employees will be signing this agreement. Will this affect any people, new employees that come into a position, or will they sign this, or, I mean,
So the signatures on the policy are typically for those who are administering the policy for those below them. So in this case, all of the managers would sign the policy as they're the ones who are implementing it for their supervisors below them. The managers themselves would be on the flexible time off policy.
so if you hire a new supervisor, then they would,
They would fall under that PTO policy. Yep. And they would just sign acknowledgement of the policy that they understand the paid time off policy.
Okay, so any other discussion? Yeah, I'll go ahead and call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, we'll move on to resolution 25-2026, approval of card member agreement through JP Morgan Chase.
Yes, so 25-2026 would give us the authorization to enter into a card member agreement with JP Morgan Chase. Christy has been meeting with different business card companies, ranging from those recommended by Maynard Casterison to those that we're already familiar with, such as Chase. We identified Chase had the most favorable terms and was able to turn around the process the fastest. And so Christy was recommending that we go with JP Morgan Chase. These cards would be issued to managers and above, essentially as P cards. The TAC has already approved a credit card policy. We just didn't have credit cards at the time. As we're moving closer to this July 1st transition, obviously we'll lose access to our city issued credit cards and need to transition some of those payments over to a TAC business card.
Is there a motion to approve?
also move.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. And lastly, resolution 26-2026, authorization of bind coverage.
Yes, so 26-2026 would give me the authorization to basically execute all of our different lines of coverage. I provided a spreadsheet in the board packet that outlined all the different lines of coverage, the carriers, and what we're anticipating those costs to come in at. We awarded a contract to Borges out of Battle Creek to be our broker for property and casualty insurance, and we've been meeting with them twice a week as we go through this process, trying to find the best rates and trying to find carriers with an appetite for this exposure. Full transparency, these rates have come in higher than what we anticipated and what our budget was, and so we're continuing to work with Borges to adjust deductibles, not levels of coverage, but what are the other things that we can do to lower the premium. One of the biggest things is playing with the deductible portion of it. Some of the larger carriers like municipal, like the MMRMA, for example, they have $100,000 deductible is the minimum. We just need to evaluate what our comfortable place is, especially at kind of our infancy going into this ourselves. And this resolution would give me the ability to continue working towards that without changing the specific levels of coverage, but making changes within either the carriers or the deductible amounts until we get to that more comfortable number for our budget.
A lot of work there.
It is
Different moving parts, it looks like from that spreadsheet.
in all of the timing. So, you heard Rich earlier talk about transferring the titles of the vehicles, and we have to get all of that timing right with the insurance being effective, transferring the titles, even, on the property side. so that we have coverage in place at the time everything is transferred over.
There, motion for approval of that covered.
So moved.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion that we haven't had relative to this? Given flexibility and what have you. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great. Thank you very much for all of staff's support. Getting all that coalesced for us around those resolutions. Any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, hearing none, board and executive director comments, communications to the board.
There were no formal communications. I would say there was some informal communications regarding some frustration from passengers about the change of our service area that's taking effect July 1st. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I've had some conversations with township officials. We did provide written notice to all of the township supervisors and village supervisors and clerks. We sent them written communication, letting them know about that change and kind of opening the door for conversation if they wanted. So far, we've only had one township ask what it would take to participate, and we're preparing some information specific to them. So yeah,
Do you want to share what township that was?
it was Bedford Township.
And you did the 3 or 4 townships around Marshall then?
We did, yeah. Yes. Marengo Township has asked for some additional information. And then we just heard from Oaklawn yesterday. We haven't had a chance to reply back yet, but we just heard from Oaklawn. Yeah. Yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask this question, I'm just hesitant about, but is it, have we considered maybe having another broad public forum that invites for that township conversation, so all the townships can hear the same thing?
Yes.
And we can explore tactics, strategies, and what have you for their constituents to address their issue and what have you, versus going to each municipality, if you will, and hearing, you know what I'm saying? Just keeping things consistent.
We actually talked about this with King Media a couple months ago, to have a township and village roundtable of
Yeah.
sorts. Just inviting the key officials that each township or village wanted to send, as well as county commissioners, to be able to provide some education, allow them to ask questions in a less public forum, where we can truly explore the individuals that are impacted and what each township or village appetite might be for participation.
Okay.
Yep, so I would say once we cross the July 1st threshold, we'll have a little more capacity to be able to start working towards that, but King Media is helping us put that together.
Okay. Do you get the sense in the mix of this that I think that's a great idea, but is there a level of, for lack of a better word, trust between the constituents and public officials in terms of, we're just talking to them, and based on what's happened in the past, you may have a different flavor for people within the community. Is it worth having hence my hesitation, community forum, not that I want to add more to staff time.
So yes, two parts to that answer. King Media's scope of work included kind of another community event for us to have another opportunity for us to go to the public, and kind of provide an update of what it is we've been doing, wait until we get a little bit more data underneath us, and potentially coincide that with the launch of the new Ride Calhoun branded app and technology. And really that project's kind of moving along quickly. So, I would say probably sometime next quarter or shortly after, we'd be ready to host that community event. Separately for the elected officials, I think there's been a lot of change from when the decision to opt out was made in 2023 to who's in those positions today is totally different. And I think in a lot of the communities, And I think there maybe isn't the understanding of why that decision was made back in 2023, or the appetite is different for allowing their constituents to vote on it versus what it was 3 years ago.
The crux of where my question came from, just to be clear, was making sure that this body gives voice to not only the elected officials, but the folks in the community. Because they may be still carrying some of that divide, if you know.
Yeah.
And if we can clarify different concerns that officials have versus community members, be helpful too. It sounds like we have a plan to communicate that in some form.
Yes.
So, great.
On the trust factor, I cannot or have not seen any distrust between the elected officials and TACC. I don't know if you would agree with that. It's always been a distrustful feeling from village and township government with county government. And that has, I've seen that where there is not trust at all with county government. So, we're new, and I don't want to carry any baggage because of the county, so.
Yeah, and I think that likely played into a few of the townships. The fact that it was, it was Doug and I doing the presentations back in 2023, and I was a city employee and Doug was a county employee, and I think a lot of people just automatically saw that they couldn't get past that history. And now we have a chance to, we stand on our own, we represent ourselves, we have our own governing body now, and we exist. Where before it was hey, this could happen. Now it has happened. And so, it's a different story now.
It's happening.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, this is a verb at this point,
Yep.
right? And the cool thing, Tom, to your point, is the big difference is we're on the solution side of this thing. So I just want to make sure we've heard everyone's voice and folks feel like they have a presence where God, can't think of a better word, but the dysfunction between the vote and the elected officials that potentially exists. It doesn't have to be a thing now with us. We provide a possible solution.
Yes.
So, okay. Having said that, any other comments? Any other communications to the board? Okay. Great conversation. Consultant updates.
Yes, Peter is on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. I'm really pleased about the different progress that's being made as part of the separation from the city. We were waiting for some more things to happen, but I think this is really good progress. Mostly what I want to say is that I'm looking forward to the board workshop and the board meeting that we're having on July 8th. I'll be there in person for that, and Clark will be co-leading it with me. So we're looking forward to the progress out of the workshop. Other than that, I'm just feel totally comfortable with the way things are going. I do think it's interesting that you mentioned the relationship of villages, townships with the county board versus any relationship that you may have or are developing. And I think that is something that I experienced also in Grand Rapids, that the relationship with the transit system was more positive than the relationship with the counties. But that's really the nature of power struggles between townships and counties. Then thank you for hearing me out. Any questions?
Any questions for?
I was gonna ask this question in a little bit here, but our July 8th work session, what will be the thrust of that 2.5 hour or 3.5 hour block? What is our plan? I guess I'm wondering, what are we talking?
What is the topic?
Yes.
I know some of it's board governance. Clark is putting together the agenda, and then I'll send that agenda out as soon as it's together. We're reviewing committees, the committees that were established almost 2 years ago now. board governance in general, and then I think executive director review.
Process.
Yep.
Now, because we did do board governance,
Yes.
I think except Maya, everybody was there for that, so I just don't wanna repeat ourselves, most of us are related to board, we're related to board in some way, so we understand that portion. And I just wanna make it a meaningful meeting to cover things that we need to cover.
Yeah, I don't see us starting necessarily at the beginning of board governance 101, but it's my experience in board development that sometimes rules change. And, you know, it's good to revisit Robert's rules and how we do things, but at the same time, there may be different requirements, different best practices that we need to be aware of. If we keep it at that high level, we would spend 45 minutes going, welcome to the wonderful world of board governance. I'm not interested in that. More interested in what makes us more effective as an authority going forward. How can we best serve the community? And what makes us more efficient as a governing body for this community, which we serve. So I'm hoping that if my consultant friends that gives you any parameters to what keeps me from glazing over in that meeting, I think I just eloquently put that together. So,
We-
all right.
we-
Okay. Anything else?
we- We understand what you're talking about, but also you have to appreciate that with my experience of years of being on boards and also as a CEO of the Rapid working with the board that and then Clark is bringing his own experience for how different transit systems are governed, that we'll be bringing things that are relevant to you. Certainly would be open to hearing if you feel like it wasn't what you expected, but you still have to go into depth as to what the committees are doing and how the committees are being led and what their purpose is. So there are things that we'll be covering. And I think one of the things that I will be expressing more is that there's going to be there has to be a real partnership between the executive director and staff and the board, and that partnership needs to be in development all the time and needs to be paid attention to. So we heard you, and I think I'll talk to Clark about it. We'll make sure that it's relevant and the agenda will be forthcoming earlier.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other
Yes.
questions? No? Okay. Moving on to board member comments. Do we have any? Oh, I'm sorry. I sure did skip right over that. I did not. That was not a touch on.
No.
No. Do you have any additional comments outside of what we've already discussed?
I'll just give you a quick rundown of where we're at in the transition. I already shared that, insurance is kind of ongoing. That resolution will allow us to execute and authorize. You guys laughing about the children's street?
My mind is. I can tune it out.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm used to that noise in the background like that. But I mean, folks that are used to that, it's like it's going down in this building.
Yes. Always. So the resolution that you approved earlier gives me the flexibility to continue working with our carrier or our broker there to identify the best carrier and get that property casualty insurance in place. We just closed open enrollment last week, so all of our employees have gone through open enrollment to select health benefits. And then, we're in the final days. We have 7 days until July 1st. We are in the final days of setting up our HR and payroll platform. Really, Christy's kind of carrying the burden of that one and establishing all of the different pay codes, classifications, all of the deductions, pre-tax, post-tax. So, we're learning a lot throughout this process. And we've got probably 95% of the employees through the onboarding process in that ADP system. So like I've said before, this quarter, really, we weren't focused on doing anything transformative or innovative. We still have a ton of projects going on in the background, But we were truly just focused on standing up an organization in 3 months. But in the meantime, we still have vehicles coming in, so we took delivery of our first electric van. We have the technology contract that was awarded that Shannon's leading the implementation on. We have a lot of projects that are still ongoing in addition to all of the things we're building. So, at probably our meeting in July or August, we'll be able to provide kind of a recap of this last sprint on what all we've done and then what's coming forward. And that next quarter is where you'll start seeing some of the more operational changes to hours of service, again, the technology system, and other tweaks to operations that we're making as we break away from each of the two cities. Our Independence Day.
All right.
Okay, great. Any questions from Al? This is reminiscent of starting up a small business
Oh, yeah.
in the state of Michigan.
Yes.
You will get no sympathies from me, but I appreciate the efforts that, because I am very much aware of all the moving parts while you're trying to still run a business.
Yes.
And so I can't impress upon that for the general public that this is, the staff makes it look seamless, easy. Vehicles are in the street looking good. Staff is in the street looking good. And I definitely appreciate not just the imagery, but the culture that's being created in real time. So it's good. Any other questions, comments for the executive director or the executive director on this? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to board member comments. Any comments? We're missing Vivian, so.
Right.
Take it.
Celebrating now, you guys, I'm wondering if you even sleep, like, how are you getting this all
There's a
done?
lot of-
You're doing it so well.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Let me tell you something. I don't ask that question because transportation requires a certain amount of, and it's not for the faint of heart.
For real.
There's a lot of stuff happening, all the way down there. Is there enough air in the tire? I mean, can you imagine that? So that's a lot of tires. So, these folks are,
A lot of coffee.
much like,
Right? Yes.
much like certain careers. There's some things that come along with that, and mobility is a 24-hour gig. And we think that service hours are just service hours, but there's things that happen, I've learned, outside of that. And if you had asked me that 2 years ago, I would not have been nearly this big of a transportation nerd, but I appreciate the staff for educating me every single day on what they have to go through and whatever we can do to support them is, I think, important. So, great comment. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. I have to inform us that our next piece is our next meeting dates. As Peter and Clark have alluded to, on July 8th, there's a board workshop from 2 p.m. to 5:30 at the Ride Calhoun Administrative Office. That is here on Cass Street. And then there's also a board meeting on that same day from 5:30 at the same place, which is where we're meeting today. So, can adjust our calendars, and it's a long day, but it's relevant work. I think it's important. Okay. Seeing no other agenda items, move adjournment. And we'll close the meeting. Thank you. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.